Can you please talk about facing your inner demons?
Well, I was just facing one of my outer demons then. You guys. Oh, you want me to be serious about it, do you? Inner demons. It's just a term, really, isn't it, for people's dark side. I don't think there's any inner demons, really. I think there's just bad programming and a heap of pain body, maybe some trauma. And people like to call it inner demons. And sort of that way they don't have to somehow own it because it's something separate from them. The thing about healing anything is you've got to own it. Inside human beings, there's a whole pile of programming that works or doesn't work. Inside of human beings, there's usually a whole pile of pain body as a result of an unwillingness to feel. And that's for all human beings. People pretend to be free, pretend to be happy, but quite often that's a fake smile and a fake persona being put out into the world because that's what's acceptable. But everybody has inside of them a whole pile of things that really could be dealt with, but most of the time they're not dealt with, they're run away from. The myriad of escape artism is human, very human. Every time someone doesn't want to feel something, they have their myriad of escapes. Alcohol, drugs, legal, illegal, food, distraction. Hope's a great way of avoiding what's inside yourself. Put yourself into a future projection. That always works. But the thing about all of that is if you aren't willing to face what's inside of you, you cannot play the game of higher consciousness because you're spending too much time avoiding, which is resistance. Part of the deal for higher consciousness and super consciousness is to heal the wounds of your heart, stop running away from what's inside of you, alter the patterns that actually are in the way, because that's what's called the obstacles. And that's, no one's going to do that for you. You're the only one that can do that. And so it's up to you, whether you do or you don't. No one's going to make you. If you see clearly that these patterns inside of you are detrimental to you, why wouldn't you want to change them? But my observation of most people is rather than changing things inside of themselves, which actually takes a fair bit of effort over time, people resort to escapism. They resort to their habits of avoidance and effectively keep themselves locked in lower consciousness. When we stop running away from what's inside ourselves because we don't want to feel it, we have begun the trip to higher consciousness. People think, oh, I've begun the trip to higher consciousness because I've read a book by Swami such and such or Osho Rajneesh or someone. No, that's not the beginning. The beginning is the willingness to be with what appears inside of you. The willingness to stop running away from what's inside of you. And most people won't even acknowledge that they're escape artists. They don't want to see themselves in that light, so they don't even look. But if you're avoiding what's inside of yourself, more than likely you have a pattern of avoidance. That's not going to stop in a big hurry because it's a pattern. The best thing you can do in this life is to stop running away and be tenderly okay with whatever appears inside of you. And that's not easy. It's hard. But then you can rest. Then you can actually go everywhere and say everything. As long as you're wounded, you're going to be avoiding places, avoiding people. not saying what you really want to say, twisting yourself into knots to get maybe acceptance if you've got a lot of abandonment wounding. So many different ways that we go about avoiding life because basically we don't want to feel something inside ourselves. There's no freedom in running away. There's no freedom in avoiding, none whatsoever. And so people tend to spend their whole life avoiding, rather than being with what is. And that's up to you. Fighting the inner demons, indeed. Yeah, or dealing with the inner demons. I don't see them as inner demons. I just see them as broken programs and pain bodies. You know, find a way. Find a way to get free. Find a way to heal yourself. That's best. That's the best you can do for you. Stop running away. Stop avoiding. Stop being an addict to something that takes you away, changes your consciousness levels. Have courage. Any questions? Any statements? Any challenges to this teaching today?
The first question is from a viewer. While I fully understand the concept that resistance to difficulties only make things worse, putting it into practice is not always easy. I would be really grateful if you could give me any advice on how to deal with the severe physical and emotional pain that I am experiencing on a daily basis.
The only answer that I can possibly give you is acceptance of what is, because there is no other answer. There is no quick fix unless you want to take drugs, and that's a quick fix. The only answer I know on how to get free is acceptance. And that's really hard to do if it's not something you've ever practiced. And most humans do not practice acceptance. They practice some kind of business deal. And what I'm trying to show people is that business deals don't actually work because you've got to keep doing them. If you can practice surrender, if you can get to surrender through the practice of acceptance, it's all over. Pain is then just pain. It's our resistance to the pain that causes our suffering, not pain itself. And so it's up to you what you practice. People say, well, I've practiced acceptance. Well, if you actually have practiced acceptance, you'd be good at it, like anything else you'd practiced. But if you haven't practiced, if you've practiced tolerating or patience, well, you're not going to be good at it. Why would you be good at it? You've never practiced it. But sometimes people think they've practiced acceptance because they've been practicing tolerating. No, tolerating is not acceptance. It's waiting for something to be different. Acceptance is actually the end of resistance. It's very beautiful, but because it's not in our repertoire as a survival mechanism, because in a way it's against survival, we don't know it. And we're not good at it. And we don't really live in a society that deals in it. We live in a society that deals in escapism, avoidance. And so that's what most people are good at, constantly avoiding. I started learning about acceptance when I was quite young. And I found that practicing it was hard because it's just not in the repertoire. It's just not there. True acceptance is the end of something. And in that end, there is nothing. It's the end of the story. It's over. There may still be pain, but the story's over. Full acceptance is the key to higher consciousness. It's also the key to dealing with life. It's up to you. What do you practice?
The next question is, What is the dark night of the soul?
The dark night of the soul. Well, that's a term put out by Carl Jung, who was a very famous psychologist. And it really does just refer to what's inside human beings when they decide to face it. The dark night of the soul, discovering how broken we are, discovering how much pain body we actually have inside ourselves, and dealing with that. And that can go on for a long time, depending on how much is there. And so we don't know. If we enter the dark night of the soul to heal our wounds, we actually don't know how much is there. And so we have to be willing to be okay with however long it takes and however uncomfortable it is. And also okay with what we might find. Because in finding wounding or healing wounding, quite often we discover helplessness and hopelessness. Two things we never want to feel, but quite often that's in the wounding as well. So we think, oh, we can heal pain, I'll be with pain. Yeah, can you also be with helplessness and hopelessness? Because that'll probably be in there as well. And this icky feeling that you're going to die, particularly in low self-worth. So once we go into what's called the dark night of the soul, we're actually probably gone into a lot of repressed emotionality that we're having to feel because we didn't feel it before. And we're also going into possible trauma and possible programming that's ineffective and damaging to us. But the dark night of the soul does have an end. You just got to be willing to be there. And it comes back to that willingness again. What are you willing to do, or what are you unwilling to do? Because that's going to be up to you. It's very difficult, very, very difficult, the dark night of the soul. But if you don't heal the wounds of your heart, you're going to be actually avoiding life somewhere, and you're going to be ruling yourself out of higher consciousness somewhere. And so it's important. It's very important. And it's up to you. No one can do it for you. Only you can do it. To be tenderly okay with whatever appears.
Will everyone need to experience the dark night of the soul in order to wake up?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Whatever's inside has to be dealt with. Whatever's inside that's being escaped from, being avoided, is an obstacle. And so we need to look inside ourselves to see what it is we're avoiding. What is it that we're avoiding inside ourselves? Because as long as we're avoiding, we're in resistance. And if we're in resistance, well, we're not going to get too far, are we? It's up to you, though. Once again, are you going to resist, or are you going to actually let go and be with what is? Are you going to heal what is, or are you going to keep running? As far as needing to experience the dark night of the soul, man, yeah, if you want to wake up, you got to be free. You got to remove the obstacles. You can't wake up if you're full of pain that you're avoiding. Not at all. You have to be okay with what is. That's up to you.
Is it
Oh, sorry, I got a little dog in here that wants to go outside. It's the new puppy that we've got, and he looks like he needs to go out and have a something. And so I'm going to just sign off just for a minute here and take the dog outside. I hope you, I'll be back soon. life's little adventures. The dog is 6 months old and he hasn't been trained and he needed to go out for a walk. So he's outside now. So where are we?
Welcome back. The next question from a viewer: is it possible to still feel joyful and buoyant while experiencing wounding?
Look, wounding is pain, it's discomfort. And it's not until we resist that discomfort or that pain that we truly suffer. Pain is just pain. Discomfort is just discomfort. It's our resistance that basically causes suffering. So if we're not resisting discomfort, if we're not resisting pain, we actually can be happy. It's related a great deal to your ability to accept and surrender to what is. And someone who's surrendered, you wouldn't even notice they're in pain because they wouldn't be reacting.
The next question from a viewer is: what was your journey in the dark night of the soul?
I think it was a long one. I didn't know I had wounding until I was about, I think I was 15, and I'd gone down to the local shops to make a phone call to my girlfriend who was living somewhere else, somewhere on the other side of the river. And I rang her up to have a conversation with her. We'd been seeing a bit of each other for a year or so. And she informed me that she didn't want to see me anymore because she had a new boyfriend. And I felt this black hole in my chest that was just pain. And what I was effectively, I didn't know this at the time, but what I was feeling was a heap of abandonment wounding that she had touched that was already there. And that was my first insight into, heck, I've got some wounding. So 15, I'm now 66. That's an awful long time ago. I haven't felt any wounding for about 20 odd years now. Nothing's touched. But before that, I got quite intensively into healing the wounds of my heart. There was no rock that was not overturned to have a look. Everything was opened up. Yeah. I saw quite clearly that if we don't heal the wounds of our heart, we get controlled by those wounds. And so I watch people who need acceptance from other people because they don't want to feel abandonment because there's so much wounding there. And these people turn themselves into all sorts of things to not feel abandonment, to not be left out. And this is wounding that is leading you around by the nose. You don't have control of your own life anymore. The avoidance of your wounds do. And so I saw that quite clearly when I was young and decided to start healing the wounds of my heart. And it wasn't long before I recognized that the only way we can heal anything inside ourselves is to feel it. No amount of understanding healed a wound. No amount of insight healed a wound. Only our willingness to feel it heals wounds. And so I just became very willing to feel whatever appeared inside of me. And they got to a stage where I realized if I'm really going to heal it, I have to be a lot more tender with myself than I had been. I had to be tenderly okay with what was appearing inside of myself. And I got to see that what I was feeling was actually leaving. And it was like an old friend leaving that I'd been keeping prisoner for a long time. Not a nice thing to do, but all wounding is repressed emotionality. It's stuff that we don't want to feel, so we find ways to avoid it, to push it down. Well, that doesn't actually work because we have to face it again. It comes up, someone triggers it again and again and again and again. And it's nice to be free of wounding. It is really nice to not be controlled by the fear of feeling something. But that's going to be up to you. Nobody can make you heal your wounding. You have to see the point. You have to want to do it. And you have to want to do it a fair bit. For me, I did. I wanted to do it. I actually wanted to heal my wounding. I did not want to be controlled by it. So I hope that helps.
When the dark night of the soul is arising, how do I regulate myself so I don't inflict myself on others?
Okay, so when you say dark night of the soul, you're probably talking about anger. So you're feeling, you're easily triggered because you're in pain. Yeah, not a good idea to actually then express that on other human beings. And this is where maturity is required, because when we are behaving in a mature way, we don't do that. We don't inflict our own pain onto others. We don't get angry with other people and try to hurt them because we're feeling pain. That's actually quite childish when you look at it. This comes with maturity. It comes with the willingness to own our own stuff and not blame others. Just because we're going through the dark night of the soul or we're feeling our own pain bodies doesn't mean we should get trippy with other human beings. We have to be more careful than normal because we are in pain and we might bite them. Not a good idea. And this takes a level of maturity, but then again, healing the wounds of the heart takes a level of maturity as well that is very high, because you have to be willing to meet pain, take responsibility for it. This is a mature act. It's hard, but it's doable.
The next question is from a viewer. My partner is currently going through their dark night of their soul. Can I contract some of his energy?
Can you contract it? Look, human beings are amazing. We share energy with everyone we meet. Whatever energy we're carrying, we share. If we're full of pain, we're going to share pain. If we're full of anger, we're going to share anger. If we're full of sadness, we're going to share sadness. If we're full of joy, we're going to share joy. And so we have a gift that we offer the world continuously as we meet it, and that is our energy field. And so, yeah, sure, people who are in partnerships share energy, whether that's a business partnership or a personal relationship. We share energy with the people who are close to us. It's our gift. It's our gift that we give them. It's the first thing we do. And so in the Hindu sense, they have the three gunas, the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. And these gunas are three types of energy that they say are carried by all things. And I think it's true. Ideally, for someone who's a seeker, we become sattvic. In other words, very clear and clean energetically. Because that's nice energy to share with us, with others. It's also the type of energy that allows us to have clarity to go higher. The tamasic type of energy puts us to sleep and wipes everything out. It's very unconscious. The rajasic energy is all race, anxious, excite, a little bit too much. Sattvic energy is like, very nice. But we share whatever we've got inside ourselves with everybody else. And as you become more open, as you become more sensitive, you get to see that.
The next question is from a viewer. Is it possible to perceive love while going through the dark night of the soul?
Heck yeah. The only time that we don't perceive love is when we're closed. Just because we're in pain or we're suffering discomfort, doesn't mean that we need to be closed. We can be wide open and still feel all of that. As a matter of fact, in openness, we get to heal everything. In closure, we're probably actually still repressing or still avoiding. And so, yes, it's absolutely available to love if you're open. Openness is the key, and closure is the way not to feel love. You want to not feel love, just be defended, just support your defenses, just remain closed. That works really well if you don't want to feel love. But if you really want to feel love, open right up. Always, always wear your heart on your sleeve. And this is the beauty way. It's the best way.
The next question is from a viewer. Do you consider psychotherapy work as essential for a seeker?
You ask an old psychotherapist. Let's have a look at that. You see, before psychologists and psychiatrists came on the scene, there was the wise men and the wise women of the tribe, the elders. And you'd go to the elders with your problems, and the elders, because of their experience in life, would actually guide you through whatever you needed to be guided through. And this is not the case today. People get old today and they don't get wiser. They don't necessarily get wiser. So we don't have the wise old people. We don't have the elders anymore. So now we have psychologists and psychiatrists and psychotherapists. And if they have wisdom, they can impart that wisdom. And so they're supposed to have it. So certain psychotherapy is really, really helpful. In my own journey, I was helped by a lot of people who were well trained. I was in mystery schools in America and in Europe and in Australia and in India, and these were run by people who were well trained in the field of psychotherapy. And I would say that it was amazing. It was amazing to get the insights from those particular people into how my psyche was working, why it wasn't working in places, and whatever. And so I'm actually a supporter of psychotherapy, but then again, I'm also the supporter of the wise elders of the tribe, the ones who have been through it all, the ones who have seen, the ones who know. Unfortunately, they are a little bit far between, but since mankind began, they've existed. And yeah, if you want to actually see yourself more clearly, they can definitely help you.
The next question is from a viewer. A lot of people describe me as courageous because I've traveled a lot and lived outside the box. But now I wonder if all that traveling was not an escape. How can I be sure that I'm not escaping or fooling myself?
What a great question. Oh, this brings me right back to 1987 when I was traveling the world. And I had already been involved in healing the wounds of my heart for 10 years. And I thought that I was really good at it. I thought that here I am, a hero. You know, I was willing to face all my stuff and be okay with it and heal it. And the truth is, I was a jet setter who was using jet setting to escape. I had enough money to jump on a jet at any time I wanted to and just move, just go. And I did. And I thought I was so cool. Boy, was I deluded. It dawned on me one day, oh my gosh, I'm now using traveling to avoid my stuff. And so I stopped traveling for quite a while so I could actually be with what I'd been running away from. And I discovered in removing that escape methodology, there was still stuff there. And so I don't know about you, but for me, I was definitely using traveling and all over the world, all the time, as an escape methodology. I didn't see myself as courageous for traveling around the world, but I did think that I was healing the wounds of my heart. I didn't see that I had a great big escape happening. And so settling down and being in one spot and being with one person as a partner changed my life, because I got to see so much more about me and got to feel so much more of my wounding that still hadn't been really uncovered because of the escape methodology I was using. Traveling is a great way to avoid things. I like that Zen saying, sitting still, doing nothing. What is sitting still? Sitting silently, doing nothing. Spring comes and the grass grows by itself. You really want to find out what's inside of you, don't move. It'll show itself to you.
The next question is from a viewer. I notice when I have wounding come up, I can feel it when I'm relaxing. But when I get busy in the day, I forget about it. Does this mean I'm repressing?
I don't know. You'll have to see for yourself. Are you repressing? Or are you just busy in the day? See, what I discovered was that everything inside us is like a tapestry. And some of that tapestry we repress because we don't want to feel it. But when you become willing to feel, when you become willing to be with what's inside of yourself, the whole tapestry is there. The tapestry of life is there. And part of that is maybe a little bit of pain because there's something healing. So you have to have a look for yourself. Are you avoiding or are you not? You're the one that's going to answer that question.
Satcha would like to ask a question.
Hi, Satcha.
Hello, Vishrant. Vishrant, my question is regarding how we can use energies towards higher consciousness.
What energies would you like to use towards higher consciousness, Satcha?
Yeah, all of three energies, like as per Hinduism, Sattvic, Tamasic, and Rajasic.
Well, the only energy that's any good for higher consciousness is Sattvic. The other two, Rajas and Tamas, keep you in lower consciousness, both of them. And so to move out of Tamas, which is that sleepy, unconscious type of energy, you can use Rajas, which is active, action. But to move out of Rajas, you sit still. Look at it. You look at it. You're in India and you're an Indian. Everything is related to those three gunas or those three types of energy. And that was being put together by sages over the last 10,000 years. And I studied it. I studied Ayurveda. And it's interesting stuff. And I agree. I think it's true. I think that basically we need to move towards a more sattvic way of living so our mind can have the clarity and the crispness to see all the obstacles and remove them all. And so I encourage people to have a sattvic life, a sattvic diet. I mean, people can do what they like, but I encourage a sattvic life because it gives you that percentage that's required to raise your consciousness levels.
Okay, Vishrant, thank you.
And you've got, it's easy in India because there's so many Ayurvedic medical doctors who will tell you what's sattvic and what's not.
Here, Vishrant, everyone knows about Sattvic and Tamas and Rajas. Most of people they knows over here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
especially in my state, most of people, they are vegetarian and they avoid non-vegetarian food. And even alcohol is not available over here, is banned over here. So people, they are a bit, because this is there is because they are aware due to religion only, but it's not in a practice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you
it's
can go
less
one.
knowledge.
You can go one step further. It's like have a look at negative thinking. Do you think negative thinking is sattvic?
I don't think so.
I don't think negative thinking is sattvic. No. And so you get to a stage where you start to have a look at even the way you think, your belief systems, your operating mind. Is it operating in a sattvic way, or is it operating in a rajasic or a tamasic way? And that's when it really makes a difference, how we think, because our thoughts create the world that we live in.
Yeah, definitely, Vishrant. Thank you.
Thank you, Satsang.
Alan would like to ask a question.
Hello, Ellen.
Hey, Vishrant. I have a question, but I just would like to ask you a follow-up question on the sattvic, rajas, and tamas. Are people like geared or keyed naturally to one of them three ways of being?
No, people have all three in them. And some people have more or less of one or the other. And so people in lower consciousness have a lot of tamas and a lot of rajas, whereas people in higher consciousness have little of that and mostly sattvic.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you go to India and you have a look at the sadhus and look at the color of the clothes they wear. They actually wear white because white is a sattvic color.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
So,
look, it's only a percentage, right, towards higher consciousness. But when you're going to higher consciousness, every percentage counts.
yeah. Stack as much in your favor as you can.
That's right. So having a sattvic diet and looking at the way you think and seeing, am I creating tamas, am I creating rajas, or am I creating sattvic with the way I think energetically? And some thoughts just take us down the chute. You know, negative thinking does not do us any favors in the game of higher consciousness.
And would positive thinking then fall into the bracket of rajas?
Well, the rajas is, you know, when we get anxious, when we get nervous, when we get really active. And that's also in the way of higher consciousness because that keeps us in resistance.
Okay, the middle ground.
Well, it's more going towards sattvic than anything else. And it's true. You find that people who are awake are very sattvic. Otherwise, they wouldn't be awake.
Yeah. My question around the wounds of the heart, is it a case that most of our wounds come from our parents?
A lot of them can do, but you've got to remember that, you know, even if you were absolutely mollycoddled as a child and loved and taken care of and carried everywhere, you were at some stage put into kindergarten or school with 30 or 40 other little psychopaths. And so if you didn't get wounding at home, you will probably get it at school. Because you see my point?
It's coming sooner or later.
It's coming sooner or later because the world is quite savage, you know. So even if our parents did everything right and did by the book, the child would probably get wounded once he goes to school because he's going to get maybe bullied or left out, or most schools operate competition, so he's a little bit behind. He's going to feel less than and develop low self-worth. There's lots of situations where we can find ourselves getting wounded at school. It's one of the reasons that I decided to homeschool my children, to actually protect them from that.
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea. Our little girl just goes to a Steiner school, and their approach is very much about collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. One of my first daughter went to Steiner.
Yeah.
And that was really good for her for a while until she didn't get along with the teacher, and then it wasn't really good for her.
Yeah, another hurdle. As we begin to heal these wounds and become aware of them, and feel what's going on, does our sensitivity naturally increase as a person towards the other people and feeling the world in general?
Look, as we open up, our sensitivity increases. And so if we're really wounded and we're not doing anything about our wounding, the chances are we're also very closed. And so as we open up to heal our wounding and take ourselves apart, we become more sensitive because we're dropping defense systems. Those defense systems, Alan, were built when we were in, I think they start getting built in the womb. I think it's really early stuff. And so they're hard to undo because they've been there for so long.
That it's strange that you say that, because it was only last week I just got this really bizarre feeling that that's how my mother felt, because she was I was our firstborn. She was pregnant when she was 23 or 24, I guess, which was not unusual back then. And I got this strange feeling that it was an inconvenience.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I as a psychotherapist, I used to use a lot of regression hypnotherapy with people to help them get in touch with their wounding. And I discovered there was a lot of wounding or defense systems developed at a very early age. But it doesn't matter when the defense system was developed, we do have the ability to undo them. And as we undo our defense systems, we do become more sensitive to ourselves and more sensitive to others.
Yeah, that seems to be my understanding as of late. Yeah, okay, thanks for all that. Thank you.
Always good to talk to you, Alan.
You too, take care.
Thank you.
Jimmy would like to ask a question.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hello. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going on 10-day silent meditation retreat tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of Vipassana?
I've done many Vipassana retreats.
Oh, yeah. So I want to get advice on you for this, because this is my second one. And then last time I find very hard to concentrate, and this is my second one. I did it 2 years ago, and after that I'm doing regular at home.
Yeah.
But I when I concentrate on breath, and sometimes I go in the mind, and then I don't know, I'm trying everything, but still not able to.
So when you're watching the breath, Jimmy, do you have your eyes shut or do you have them open?
Before it was the shut, now, but when I heard last time you talking about it, so from then I'm trying to open and shut, when I manage, I feel like I'm going in mind or something. I open it for a while and then again shut it.
Okay. Look, for the first 10 years of doing Vipassana meditation, I kept my eyes open at the 45-degree angle because I found that helped me not go into dream, not go into thoughts, because at least the ground was real. Once I shut my eyes, my mind could start to dream. It was much easier for me to watch the breath and watch the ground at the same time. And so I had awareness on two things that were real, the ground and also the breath. The other thing about doing any kind of sitting meditation is quite often before I would do it, I would actually have a good dance and let off any energy that I'd been carrying from my day-to-day life before I actually would sit.
Oh, yeah. I think I had to do that one as well.
Well, we pick up a lot of stuff in our day-to-day life, in our relationships, in our work, and it is energy. and it bothers us when we try to sit. But if we have a good dance, a really good hard dance, we can let it all go, and then it's much easier to sit.
Yeah. Because before I was thinking, you know, I was too conscious about this thing, like why not I'm getting my concentration on my breath, or like the why I'm going in my mind. But then from last like at least 6 months, I'm not worrying about that as well. But still, like it's been 6 months, you know, I'm doing it, and if I don't look into it, why it's not working, you know, I might be sitting another 10 years, and then, you know, if
Yeah.
I'm not doing right.
Well, I was with, I got into spirituality through the Rajneesh organization. And one of the first things I did was a thing called Kundalini meditation, which is you do a lot of shaking and dancing before you sit. And that's done at night time or at 5 o'clock. And in the morning, I do one at 6 o'clock, which is called dynamic, which is a lot of shaking and dancing as well. And then you sit. And I found that because I did that before sitting, my mind had released a whole pile of energy that was aggravating me, and I was able to sit.
Yeah, I'm doing at the moment like some breath exercise before start doing the meditation, like watching on the breath, like take the very fast breath for 5 minutes. So it just make me bit more oxygen in my body and calm my brain.
It doesn't release the energy that you've built up during the day, that you've picked up from other people, or you've produced yourself through your own angsting. If I understand what you're saying, and you can keep doing that, but if you really want to release the energy that's aggravating your mind so you can't sit, you're better off dancing it out.
Because I don't have problem with the now sitting, like I can sit like the 2 hour without moving it. My body won't resist, you know, but it's the only thing in the mind. You know, I can't concentrate on my third eye. That's the only thing.
I hear you, Jimmy, and I'm saying to you that you've got something in you that's bothering your mind.
Yeah, that
And
I can't figure out.
look, we pick up energy all the time from other humans, and we also produce energy by angsting or getting caught in business, you know, and that energy bothers us if we try sitting. It just does. If we can release it first, we can then sit quite easily. But just doing breath exercise isn't probably going to release it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna attend these 10 days and see how I'm gonna go, and then when you're starting like this Friday thing, I'm gonna come to you guys on Fridays.
Okay. We started last week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I might come after 10 days when I finish there, and
Okay.
then my hope is you now, Vishrant. I don't know, like the.
You'll find if you come and sit in Satsang with me, Jimmy, your mind will go quiet. But Satsang on Friday night starts at 7:30 in Bedfordale at the Restful Waters Centre.
Yeah, I know the address. I came before, yeah, and before lockdown, yeah, and then it was not happened that time, yeah.
Mm. You'd be
So,
very.
yeah, I can't wait to see you.
And we can discuss what works and what doesn't work, and I can arm wrestle you so you can get free.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like you the only hope. You know, God give me the. You know, I don't know how I find you, and then I can see like the still awakened person in the Perth, and I'm in the Perth. You know, not too far. I just feel like I'm blessed with something. You know.
I would consider yourself very lucky. I had to go all the way to India to find awakened
Yeah,
people.
so that's what I think. And the thing is, even if I'm in India, like that, you can't tell the who is awakened or who is not. You know, now like that, because I'm listening from last 15 years the things, so now I can relate them. But plus, like the who is awakened, they have the low so much of crowd, like that you can't even go and talk to them. That's the thing.
That's true too. It's very difficult to get anywhere near anyone who's awake. One
Yeah, that's the.
of the things I found in India was just about every street corner had a businessman who considered himself awake.
Yeah, because it's hard. Like out of million, you find one, and then that one got the million people around him as well. So yeah, but I think I'm very lucky.
When I was with Osho in America, he had 20,000 people around him.
Yeah, that was that time. You know, if he was now, he would have like 20 million around him.
It's probably true. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah, he was. Yeah. Hmm.
I look forward to seeing you, Jimmy, when you finish your Vipassana retreat.
Yeah. Thanks, Vishrant.
Thank
Thanks. Thank.
The next question is from a viewer. Accepting severe bodily pain is easier said than done. What to do?
I understand. Look, if you're not good at acceptance, you're not going to be good at it. That's the thing. It's like if you haven't practiced acceptance, you will not be good at it. I practiced acceptance of bodily pain, and I got good at it, but only because I practiced acceptance of bodily pain. I learned to not resist it. But that took a lot of practice because I was a sportsman, I was a martial artist, and there was a lot of bodily pain, and I just found a way to make it okay. And I made it okay often enough for it to be okay. And so I could be with pain without resistance. But that only occurred as a result of practice, no other reason. And so I come back to it once again, accept it. And you're going to find that you probably can't. But if you keep practicing, you will be able to.
The next question is from a viewer. How would I know if I've healed all of my wounding?
Because nothing triggers you anymore. That's how you know. There's nothing left to be triggered. There's nothing left there. Something touches, there's no overload. There's no huge hit of pain anymore. It's over. It's wonderful. And you're not avoiding anyone. You're not avoiding anything anymore. You're not trying to escape anymore. How would you know? Because nothing is really getting you anymore, because you've healed all the wounding that used to protect, that you didn't want to feel. It's brilliant.
Another question from a viewer. Does the path to higher consciousness necessarily have to be hard and painful?
The problem is it's not natural to raise your consciousness levels, and it's not natural to wake up. It's actually against nature, because you have to learn surrender, and you learn surrender through the practice of acceptance. And that's why it's hard, because it's against nature to do so. Our natural impulse is to avoid discomfort and chase pleasure. And just in healing the wounds of the heart, that doesn't go that way. If we avoid pain and chase comfort, we don't heal the wounds of our heart even. And so we're actually going against nature to raise our consciousness levels. And if we're talking enlightenment, we're talking unconditional surrender, which is totally against nature because it's a death. And so, yeah, it's hard. But it's the only game in town worth playing. Lower consciousness sucks.
The last question for today. Can I wake up if I'm still wounded?
Heck yeah. If you're willing to not resist life, if you're willing to accept what is, you can wake up. It's only our resistance to life that keeps us locked in lower consciousness. In acceptance of life, we're not resisting anymore. So yes, you can wake up. And that wounding that's still there will be actually probably felt after awakening, but there won't be any resistance to it. And so yes, you can definitely wake up and still be wounded. Absolutely. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here today.